Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For the returning subscribers, thank you so much, and for those who are new, welcome. So today I'm going to be taking you through Excel terminologies, mainly the few common ones we use. So we'll begin with worksheet. As you can see, so a worksheet is basically a combination of rows and columns that you can use to create data for calculations and for different storage things, which most of us use it for. So you can have as many worksheets as you can see. You can have this, which is worksheet 1, worksheet 2, 3, 4. Some of you call it a spreadsheet, which is its other name. So, and a combination of worksheets, as you can see, you can have quite a number, is what we call a workbook. And here is that workbook. You can tell it's a workbook, so you can edit it to name it whatever you want. Let's say name it, let's say Joella workbook. So you can rename your workbook whatever you want. So after that, so I talked about columns and rows. So columns and rows are basically, this is basically a column, and columns in Excel are assigned names according to letters. So this is like column D, that is how we name our columns, and C and up to Z, and exactly, you get it. So we can have our rows, which are these, and the rows are assigned names according to numbers. So this is row 5, row 1, row 3, like row 15, just like that. So when we have, you're seeing something like this, which is this rectangle here, which is an intersection between a column and a row. So this is what we call a cell. A cell is an intersection between a column and a row, and a cell is given a name, which is what we call a cell reference. When you hear someone say something about a cell reference, and we always named according to the row first, no, the column first, and then followed by the row, which in this case, for example, it will be B because it's in column B, and it will be 5 because it's in row 5. So that makes a cell reference for this particular cell to be B5, or we can choose any random one like this side. So since it's in column or Q, sorry, it would be Q, and it's in row 11, so the cell reference would be Q11. So that information would display here, where you're seeing it's displaying somewhere around here. This is what we call a name box. A name box will tell you which row, which cell is actually active at that moment. And what does an active cell mean? An active cell is basically any cell that you're using at that moment in time. For example, I can, let's say, put my name Joella in this cell. At this point in time, this cell that I'm typing in, that cell D4, is the active cell. Then if I click right here, as you can see, it has changed. You see on the name box, it doesn't show D4 anymore, it shows C2, which means C2 is the active cell at the moment. So it keeps showing that the cell reference for the different cells that you're using at that point, and which would be the active cell in that case. So next to it, you can see this very long bar, which is known as the formula bar. So formula bar is it basically displays the information that's in an active cell. So which would be, now for example, this cell has nothing, so you can see the formula bar is empty. Then when I click on cell D4, because it had my name, that's the information that would show right here. I can type something random, let's say a 3, and then that means when I go to cell A5, the formula bar will show me 3 because it displays the information and the data that's in that particular active cell at the moment. So the next thing that we have in Excel is what we call a formula. Formula is basically a math equation, and which is what Excel does. Excel usually it calculates everything automatically. So let's say I want to have like an addition of, like, let's say 4 plus 3. So Excel will automatically give me the answer to that. Did you see what that does? So what I typed in is basically a formula. It can be for anything else. It can be though the formulas in Excel usually start with an equals for you to get the answer. Because if I had, let's say, written 4, let's say if I had written, no, this is, so let's say if I had written 4 plus 5 and there's no equal signs, you see, it will just interpret that as text data that doesn't need to be a calculation. So the equal sign is quite important when you're using a formula in Excel. Next is what we call a function. A function is basically those formulas that you use quite often that Excel has literally just made an easier way for you to use them because they've become that many, and those are quite many. For example, I can use a sum, which is what I'd done before the plus thing. So you see sum, when you say sum, you see all these shows that all these functions are used quite often. So this is the sum function that I'm using. But in this case, I would need to have, let's say the 4 plus 5 that we are done here. So I would do 4 in this cell, and let's say 5 in this cell. So I would come back here and try to create what the function that we're talking about, which is the addition. We are done manually. So we'll do something like this. We'll select this cell, which is cell D5, and then also select cell D5 and put a comma, and then select this cell. You can do it manually, but then you can also just click on it, which is way easier, and then automatically our function is done and the answer is generated automatically. Are you seeing what that just happened? So that is what we basically call a cell function. And then range is basic, and then there's something we call range. So it's basically me doing this. You'd click and then drag. So you see that is a range. It can be on any empty thing. You see, that is a range. Do you see on the name box out that there is a different thing? It shows between A and the different cells that I had clicked on earlier. So it can be quite helpful, and that basically sums up the most of the terminologies used in Excel. I hope you learned something. I'll explain more in my next video about how you can use these cells and these terminologies to have them do something practically. Let's say a report card, let's say a spreadsheet database thing you may need for work. So I'll explain it further and how you can use them in detail in the next video. Stay tuned, and I hope you learned something. See you next time. Bye.